Hello and a very warm welcome for yet another wonderful week. This is Just the Facts show, and today we're coming out of the norm, and of course the set itself and the subject that we're going to discuss tonight is a different thing altogether, and we want to talk about conservation and of course get to know a movie producer, director and an animal behaviorist. And of course, Ralph, just to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to our viewers who may not have heard about you.
Well, I've been around in Kenya for 30 years, and I'm Ralph Helford's the name.
Yes.
I'm a writer. I've written a number of books. Animal behaviorist, kind of unusual, different than the average one.
Yes.
And a producer. I produce motion pictures and television.
Yeah, and the bit of being an animal behaviorist is what may catch the attention of many viewers tonight, and they may want to get a further definition of what you mean by being an animal behaviorist.
You know, many years ago when I started in the business, I had a company.
That is when, roughly, in Tanzania?
Oh, back, way back in the 60s.
60s?
And I was quite young, but...
How old were you?
105. No, no, I'm up there.
Okay.
I started a company with animals to work in the motion picture and television industry because what I was seeing was brutality. I saw a lot of animals that were being subjected to ways to train them for the camera, not for the humanitarian feeling for the animal. Basically, they would do whip, gun, and chair or do anything to get that animal to perform on camera. And when I came along, I'm a lover, not a fighter. And it was horrible. And I developed a new way to work with animals. I called it affection training. It wasn't just affection, but it was a word that the studios picked up because we dealt with animals through a lot of love and understanding of the animal and good communication. It worked. And because of that, I developed a ranch. We ended up with 1,500 animals in
1,500
California.
animals in California, and what types of animals are you talking about?
Leopard, mountain lion, elephant, all kinds.
And Ralph, maybe to take you back a little bit, talk about developing a new way of dealing with the animals. Is it something you learned in school, or how did you come to develop this new skill?
Well, I have to preface by saying I don't recommend anybody having an exotic animal or training it or having it in their house. I have to say that. Now, that having been said, I found a way at a very young age that emotions are the key to working closely with an animal. You can never physically harm it. If you harm it, an animal immediately goes into a protective mode and will resist you. And you have a confrontation there. The key words that we use are love, patience, understanding, and respect. You can't just love an animal. You can't just love a child. They will become spoiled. So you need a certain control of respect and the understanding of the nature of the animal. It took years to develop the program. And but when we did, we ended up with lions and tigers and leopards that I could put on a leash and walk into the movie.
When you talk about you ended up, were you alone or you were with quite a number of people?
I started alone.
Yeah.
But as the program developed, more people came on board. We ended up with 50 trainers in our company because we became the world's largest. For the first time, imagine Marilyn Monroe or Elvis Presley or any of these big movie stars could finally work with a wild animal safely.
Yeah, and that is quite an interesting bit of it. The movie stars working with the animals safely without being hurt, and perhaps did you experience problems?
Yeah. We got them when very young. The rule was to use no brutality and to turn hate to love. Emotions are very important, even with humans as well as with animals. And that's what we dealt with. So the animals were brought up personally with us. My lion, Zamba, who became one of my favorites, and I wrote a book about, lived in my house. He had a special bed we built because he would sleep in the house. He was 528 pounds.
No change of attitude at all while it was living in your house?
Just like a person. And again, I don't think people should do this. Looking back, I should not have done it. But what it did do is it brought a communication between human and animal. And it gave us the ability to work them in the movie industry. So we did movie star animals. And we did it for almost 30 years. And I brought lions to Kenya for the movie with Bill Holden called The Lion. And I've done the Daktari, the series, many, many movies, all because the animals were safe to work with.
Yeah, and did your family members take you as a very unusual person?
They thought I was crazy. At a young age.
You probably, in that many people would fear to come to visit you with an understanding that you have a lion in the house.
You know, after a while, the animals were so nice, so wonderful, that they could relax.
And they learned the art of, being together, coexisting with the animals? Your family, that is?
They got totally used to it. I mean, my daughter, Tana, grew up with my animals and with Zamba, my lion. And she was just a little girl. And but there's a certain wonderful warmth involved that animals and people, once they understand how to do it, that there's a connection. And I think it makes you a better person to be around them. But the problem is that I do not advocate people having wild animals. I'm kind of between and betwixt. It's something people shouldn't do. We happened upon it years ago, and it worked for the movie industry, and still works for them. But it's a thrill to pet a lion. And something else, like in conservation, the animals, a zoo will tell you don't touch an animal. That it will take away the wildness of the animal. But if you don't touch them, if you don't love them and show that affection, they're not going to breed. The world talks about the breeding of animals that are becoming extinct. And when you see an animal in a zoo, and there are some wonderful zoos, they fear you. When you have fear, they're not going to breed. We brought up animals that were so warm and trusting of human beings. They bred beautifully. There was no fear involved. So it's a delicate approach, and it's not for everyone.
Yeah, delicate indeed. I can just imagine how delicate it can be. And did it work for all animals you had?
You know, it does. The principle is there. Yeah. Emotion is the key word. And there are some people who don't have that capacity to be emotional or to understand it. Men are more difficult than women. Men have an ego problem. And when they're with a big animal, they like to show that they're the boss. You can't do that with lions and tigers. Yeah, and but you have there's a certain quality between the masculine and the feminine, and we all have it. And you have to adjust that, just fine tune it. So when you work,
but how? One would ask, how can I do this? Do I need to, go through a particular training, or how can you do it?
You would have to, And again, I have to go back and say, but don't.
It's more of a disclaimer.
Yeah, you would have to grow up with the animal. You'd have to bring an animal into your world, and let it teach you. It'll teach you about wonderful things about existence in life. At the same time, you very gently bring in the human quality, the honking of a horn, somebody hysterical around them, noise in the kitchen. They're all little things that come about, that you have to condition the animal to. We have to understand a snarl, a roar, a look from the eyes. There's only certain people can do this. Most people I talk to say, I want to love a lion, I want to hug. That's a dream, you know.
Just happened like a snap of a finger.
And when it does, after years go by, it's a great feeling.
Yes.
And it makes you a better person.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's all disappearing.
Yeah.
The world that I knew when I was younger is no longer around. Yeah. It's very sad. The conservation people are terrific. They are trying so hard to save the animals. But the black rhino, the mountain gorilla, cheetah, there's certain animals, even in my new book, I wrote a whole chapter of Say Goodbye.
Yeah.
It's sad that say goodbye. But we're, with the programs, I just, when I approach that subject, I get so sad by what's happening, the ivory problem. Yeah. And
but you can get sad, and of course a number of efforts have been put towards, the conservation crusade. And we've seen countries coming out to, make commitments after commitments, but the thing is not even dying, and we're seeing more and more animals being sought after for their trophies. And what will be the ultimate solution to this, Ralph?
You have to get leaders of every country in the world with all the money to get an island somewhere and put them on the island. As an example, in a zoo,
Yes.
They want people to go to a zoo and show the little kids the animals. To me, no. A zoo should be only for the animals to breed, not to, I guess the public brings the money that keeps the zoo. But you need an area to leave them alone. I mean, look at our forests. Look at our jungles. Our land, it's being turned into agriculture, the building of cities. And it's the home of the animals. And when I make the statement, say goodbye, it's true. I mean, I understand there are 250 species and more that have already become extinct. How sad. I mean, when the last one dies,
Yes.
they're gone. You'll never see them again. You see them in a movie, you'll see them in a photograph, but they're gone. How can the human being allow that they would disappear like that? Because some person wants to wear a trinket. They sell the meat of certain wild animals in certain countries. And I think what's happened, I'm very bitter, and you're talking to an older man who has seen it, and I walked away. There's nothing more I can do.
So you've resigned to fate, simply, that is what you're trying to say?
It's difficult. It's very difficult. I was fortunate when I had my animals. I'm one of the few people who can say, I hugged a tiger. I mean, he licked my face. Animals of the world, these wonderful shows on Animal Planet and all, they're really wonderful. But they really will be in the archives. That'll be the last remnants of what it once was. But I am truly an animal person. My whole life has been animals. and the closeness that I've gotten with them has been nirvana. It has been wonderful, you know. But to get there is quite a struggle, and a lot of people you can't do what I did anymore. It's gone. I remember in the 60s I could see 300 and 400 elephants, and they weren't afraid. I mean, you could be out there. Nowadays, they'll
For them
get you.
somewhere deep in the zoos, probably. Yeah, and perhaps getting back to what you do in terms of, you know, producing movies, using the animals, how has it worked for you in terms of, you know, making you get the satisfaction that you always aspired to get?
Actually, the studios came to me. As I started in a pet shop in Los Angeles, and I had a lot of unusual animals, and the studios started to call me.
Which animal did you begin with?
I had foreign animals. You wouldn't know the name, coatimundis and agoutis, you know, little jungle animals. But I also started with spiders and tarantulas and snakes that I caught locally because I didn't have the money to buy them. And yeah, and whatever the studio, the script wanted.
I dread snakes.
You know, we had some wonderful snakes. And anyhow, from the pet shop, it grew into an animal reserve, and we had this big, beautiful ranch. But the animals were with people. They would swim in the lake with the tigers and leopards. When they gave the elephants a bath, they were there with them, you know. It was a communication, and that's gone. It was just a lovely life. But when the studios, and you know, when they did with Marilyn Monroe, they wanted a raccoon, and they wanted one that isn't going to bite her. When we worked with Elvis Presley with the leopard, they had to be sure it didn't bite. And you know, and movie stars mainly of the past. A lot of people don't even know the names anymore. But they were big, major productions and people, and we were very, very proud of that. You know, so nowadays, if you see a wild animal on the screen in a movie, a major movie, it's usually technically done. It's done through the mirrors, and they don't even need a wild animal anymore. So it's changing.
And perhaps we understand this is something that you've been holding in your heart so passionately, and we believe there are a number of movies that are still coming that you will use your animals. Like maybe if you can inform our viewers, reveal to them what are in the store.
I did a book called Modoc. M-O-D-O-C, Modoc.
Yes.
Story of an elephant and a man.
Yes.
And Kevin Costner, the wonderful actor who did Dances with Wolves, Academy Award winner, he read the book, bought the rights to it. He and I became...
Oh, when was this?
This was a number of years ago when he read the book. But he bought the rights, and we're going to make a movie.
Okay, that should be when?
Well, we hopefully we can start by the end of the year. But Hollywood is slow. It takes time. But I and he will be executive producers on the film.
Yeah, and when are you doing the shootings? Like, not when, but where are you doing the shootings? Do we anticipate to see?
Takes place in India, Germany, some in Kenya, and then we go back to New York and California. So we have a lot of locations. But you never know. With technology nowadays, they can shoot anywhere, doing anything, you know. But I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, and do you still have the animals with you? I understand you had 3 corporations.
I don't, no, we don't have the big corporation anymore.
Yes.
When I came and fell in love with Kenya, I walked away.
Okay.
And I did 30 years of movie and animal work. And then one day, when I came here to Kenya and fell in love with this great country, I walked away from it. And that was okay. Here I could see everything in the wild. And I do not like training animals. I don't like anybody to train an animal. I've changed. That was then. Today they need to be in the wild, but let them live in the wild, not be subjected to fires and pistols and buying of property and, you know.
Yeah, and there's been a very difficult balancing act in the country in that we have that aspiration to develop infrastructurally, and we're seeing railways cutting through the wildlife and roads, and there is a need for this infrastructure. How can we really, get it right as a country?
You know, you're so right. I mean, you're right. You're right on. Every country wants to develop and become bigger and more. And Kenya's the same. The high rises in Nairobi, the new roadways, and it will continue to grow to be a major, major country. But the animals will suffer. Kenya was once noted for the animals, to come and see the animals, meet the many colorful tribes and the beauty of the country. The animals will go. The tribes are now going to colleges and universities. And that certain aura that once was here is going to go. It's already going. For the country, it's beautiful to advance. For the dreamers of what we once remember, difficult it's to say goodbye. But it has to be. And I think the only answer is major areas of land that will not be touched is for the animals. Is all I can think of. And, keep the graft away, keep any negative away, and let those animals grow. But a big area, and no poaching. And maybe this is a dream world, but if that can happen, you can save a lot of the species. Unless lands can be developed and not touched and the animals not harassed, I don't see a good future, I remember, if I may say, the farmers, and God bless them, I mean, they grow wonderful food, but they built thousands of acres right in the migratory path of the elephants, and then wondered why here come the elephants, why they were eating their crops, and instead of separating. It's a very, Kenya is so special. There's no place like it in the whole world. And when you're away from it and can back off, you can appreciate it more than when you're here. But it's going to take the people that are here to work hard to preserve the land for the animals. Their home. This is their home. They were here first. And, I wish I could be more positive, because I am a positive person. And but it's the control of those people that have the power to make it work.
Yeah, Ralph, I would speak to you until the cows come home, because you have interesting perspectives on a number of issues. But because of time, we just have to end it. But before winding up, I would wish that you look at that camera and perhaps give a message of hope to people who are so enthusiastic about conservation of our animals, and the country itself. The young people are coming up. What word of hope would you have for them?
The best thing that I could say is go to your heart and look at the emotional warmth of the world of animals. I think that people see them in a different perspective. They don't see them as part of the universe. Many of the young people that I talk to that are going through the schools, the universities, they don't understand what it once was. And I know many people of Kenya who have never seen a wild lion, many who have never been on safari. I would say go, see it, but bring it into your heart. And then whether you're one person or a small group or part of a community, you have to gather strength. The strength is in the people. Look at television today. You want to change something, it takes a massive amount of people to do it. And so I can only say to you is go to the animals. You'll find them here. And if you love them and care for them, you'll be positive in your direction for the future. Kenya needs its animals, and animals need the land. Don't take it away from them.
Ralph, thank you very much. I really appreciate. It was quite an honor to be with you.
It's good meeting you.
Yeah, get the different perspectives of different things all together. Viewer, we've been speaking to an animal behaviorist, and of course, quite interesting perspectives from him towards the conservation crusade. And of course, keywords, respect, love, and dealing with the emotions could really help in this crusade. From me, my name is Jojo Kachi. See you again next week, and God bless you.